That cheap piece of garbage is polluting my $1 million gallery. Crack. The sickening sound of hand-carved oak splintering under a crocodile leather loafer echoed through the pristine showroom. Vance, the city's most ruthless toy distributor, ground his heel into the delicate wooden puppet. Mary, a young orphan girl in a faded denim jacket, fell to her knees. She scrambled to gather the crushed pieces, her calloused, bandaged hands shaking uncontrollably. Tears of absolute helplessness streamed down her dirt-smudged face. Before Vance could kick the remaining fragments away, a large, calloused hand gently caught his ankle mid-air. It was Eric. He didn't yell. He didn't flinch, holding his little girl's hand with his left. Eric slowly stood up and locked eyes with the arrogant billionaire. That design just won the Royal Craft Gold Medal, and you just stomped on every last share of your own company. Before we get into exactly how this arrogant tycoon lost his entire empire in less than 5 minutes, let's take a moment. The pure, unfiltered smile of a child is the most sacred treasure we have in this world. If you truly value that innocence, drop this exact vow in the comments right now. I vow to protect the innocent smiles and simple dreams of children against the greed of the world. Subscribe to the channel if you believe the good guys should still win. Now, let me tell you how this really went down. You see, Eric wasn't just some random guy off the street. He was the quiet architect behind the largest educational tech toy empire on the globe. But none of that money mattered. For the past 2 years, his 6-year-old daughter, Mia, hadn't spoken a single word. After losing her mother in a tragic accident, Mia retreated into a dark, silent shell. Eric had bought her every expensive, flashing, buzzing, state-of-the-art toy money could buy. Nothing worked. His massive mansion felt like a tomb. He was a billionaire who was completely bankrupt. When it came to saving his own kid, that all changed last Tuesday. Eric had dragged a reluctant Mia to a local community fair, hoping the fresh air would do something, anything. That's where they found Mary. Mary wasn't a businesswoman. She was just a girl who had grown up in the foster system, scraping by in a damp, drafty garage. She spent her nights whittling scrap wood into intricate, moving figures for the kids at the local orphanage. No batteries. No screens. Just raw talent. And the soothing, earthy scent of natural oak. Mia had wandered away from the cotton candy stands and stopped dead in her tracks at Mary's little folding table. Mary didn't treat Mia like she was broken. She didn't pity her. She just gently slid a small wooden mechanical bird across the table. When Mia touched it, the gears turned seamlessly, releasing a faint, calming aroma of dried herbs hidden somewhere inside the wood. For the first time in 24 months, the corners of Mia's mouth curled upward. She smiled. Eric almost broke down crying. Right there on the pavement, he tried to hand Mary a $100 bill, but she pushed it back. It's just scrap wood, mister. If it makes her happy, it's hers. Eric didn't know it then, but someone else had been watching that interaction. Vance. Vance owned a massive chain of retail toy stores, and his business was bleeding cash. Kids were bored of his cheap, toxic plastic imports. He needed a new gimmick. He saw the crowd gathering around Mary's table, smelling the wood, marveling at the craftsmanship. He didn't see art. He saw a desperate, poor girl he could easily crush and exploit. 2 days later, Vance showed up at the orphanage where Mary volunteered. He didn't come to negotiate. He came with a team of lawyers and a pile of foreclosure documents. He had bought the debt on the orphanage's building. Here's the deal, sweetheart. You sign over the exclusive, global rights to every single wooden design you've ever sketched. You give me the formula for that herbal scent, and maybe, just maybe, I don't throw these 50 orphans out onto the freezing street by Friday. Mary was terrified. But she wasn't stupid. She knew if Vance mass-produced her designs in his toxic plastic factories, the soul of her work would die. She refused. That brings us right back to the gallery. Mary had scraped together her last few dollars to buy a tiny display space at the city's prestigious annual Arts and Crafts Gala. She hoped to find one honest investor who could help her save the orphanage on her own terms. Mia had begged Eric to take her to the gala, to see the Wood Lady again. They arrived just in time to witness a nightmare. Vance was already there, flanked by his private security. He was loudly mocking Mary's display, intentionally drawing a crowd of wealthy snobs. "Look at this trash. You think you belong here with us? You're a street rat, peddling firewood." That's when he dropped the carousel and crushed it under his shoe. Mary fell to the floor, desperately trying to piece together the shattered wood. It wasn't just a toy, it was the only hope she had left, to keep a roof over the orphans' heads. The crowd of elites just stood there, whispering and sipping their champagne. No one stepped in. No one cared. If you've ever felt small, helpless, and completely surrounded by people who just don't care, you know exactly how heavy Mary's heart was in that second. Let's send her some strength. Go to the comments right now and write our vow. I vow to protect the innocent smiles and simple dreams of children against the greed of the world. We are back. At the gallery, Vance was laughing, adjusting his expensive cuffs. He thought he had won. He thought Mary was just another bug he could squash on his way to the bank. He raised his foot to kick the remaining pieces across the room. That is exactly when Eric stepped out of the crowd. He didn't shout. He didn't make a scene. He just reached out and caught Vance's ankle. Midair. The entire room went dead silent. Vance stumbled back, his face turning red with rage. "Who the hell do you think you are? Take your hands off me." He snapped his fingers, signaling his massive security guards to step in. But Eric didn't even look at them. He let go of Vance's leg, knelt down on the polished marble floor, and gently helped Mary gather the broken pieces of oak. Mia ran over and wrapped her little arms around Mary's neck. Vance sneered, looking down at them. How touching. A street rat, and her knight in shining armor. "Listen to me, buddy. I own the patents. I own the designs. By tomorrow morning, my factories will be pumping out 1 million of these cheap wooden toys in plastic." "She has nothing." Eric stood up, slowly. He held a piece of the crushed carousel in his hand. You see, Vance was a ruthless businessman, but he wasn't a craftsman. He didn't understand what he had actually stolen. Eric pressed a tiny, almost invisible wooden latch on the broken piece. With a soft click, a small hidden compartment popped open. Inside was a small compressed bead of dried herbs, and a tiny carving that read, "Mary's love." "That's the secret," Eric said, his voice calm but echoing through the quiet gallery. "That's the scent that calms the children. It's a specific, proprietary blend, hidden inside a mechanical joint. You can't mold with cheap plastic. You don't own the patent to this mechanism, because my company patented it for her yesterday." Vance burst out laughing. "Your company? Do you have any idea who you're talking to? I am the biggest toy distributor in North America. I can crush you, just like I crushed that toy." Eric finally smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of a predator that had just cornered its prey. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone. He dialed one number and put it on speaker. A voice answered immediately. "Yes, Mr. Chairman, cancel all distribution contracts with Vance Retail Group," Eric said calmly. "Effective immediately. Add them to the global blacklist for intellectual property theft. Notify our legal team to prepare the breach of contract lawsuits." The color completely drained from Vance's face. His jaw dropped. He recognized the voice on the other end of the line. It was the chief operating officer of the largest educational tech toy empire on the planet, the company that supplied 80% of Vance's store inventory. Without them, Vance's empire was just empty shelves and massive debt. Wait, Vance stammered, his arrogant posture completely crumbling. Eric? You're Eric Thorne? I didn't know. We can make a deal. We can work this out. Eric didn't even blink. The deal is done, and you just stomped on every last share of your own company. Vance fell to his knees, right in the same spot where he had forced Mary to beg just minutes earlier. He was pleading, crying, asking for a second chance, but the elite crowd that had been laughing with him was now backing away in disgust. No one helps a sinking ship. If you love seeing arrogant bullies get exactly what they deserve, you know what to do. Go to the comments and type our vow. I vow to protect the innocent smiles and simple dreams of children against the greed of the world. Eric turned his back on the ruined billionaire. He looked down at Mary, who was still staring at him in absolute shock. He reached out his hand and helped her to her feet. He didn't offer her charity. He offered her respect. Mary, Eric said gently, my company wants to buy the exclusive rights to the Herbal Oak collection. We are offering a $20 million contract. But there's a condition. You remain the head designer, and the first $2 million goes directly to buying that orphanage building outright. In your name. Mary broke down sobbing. But this time, they were tears of absolute joy. Mia tugged on Eric's sleeve and pointed at Mary, giving him a bright, beautiful thumbs up. Fast forward 6 months. The dark, silent mansion wasn't silent anymore. It smelled like fresh oak and dried herbs. Mary hadn't just saved the orphanage, she had saved Mia, and in the process, she had saved Eric, too. They were sitting on the floor of the living room, building a massive wooden castle together. Eric looked at Mary, the warm golden light catching her smile. He didn't rush with a flashy diamond ring. He just reached over, held her hand, and said exactly what was in his heart. Mia needed a mother, but I needed a home, and I found it with you. Sometimes, the most valuable things in life aren't the ones that cost millions of dollars. They are the ones made with patience, love, and a little bit of magic. A father's relentless love will always find a way to bring light back into the darkness. If you believe that good people deserve happy endings, don't forget to subscribe and leave our vow one last time in the comments. I vow to protect the innocent smiles and simple dreams of children against the greed of the world. Stay strong, be kind, and I'll see you in the next story.